In a world of infinite scrolling and overnight fortunes, there remains a secret language spoken in boardrooms, whispered between founders at coffee shops, and encoded into the architecture of almost every successful company you have ever trusted. It is the language of the business model, the unseen engine that decides whether an idea soars into a billion-dollar reality or quietly fades into the forgotten archives of the internet. There was a time when the word business meant something simple. A baker sold bread. A blacksmith sold horseshoes. A shopkeeper sold fabric by the yard. The transaction was immediate. Money moved from hand to hand. Goods moved from shelf to home. That world was smaller, slower, and infinitely simpler. But somewhere in the last 100 years, something shifted. The invisible machinery of commerce grew more complex. And hidden inside that complexity were patterns. Patterns that repeated themselves. Patterns that, when executed correctly, transformed small ideas into empires worth more than the GDP of entire nations. Before the internet reshaped daily life, before software ate the world, before a teenager with a laptop could launch a global company, the architects of these empires were already laying foundations in quiet laboratories, in dusty patent offices, and in the small, determined minds of entrepreneurs who saw what others could not see. They discovered that the way a company asks for money is often more important than the product it sells. They discovered that giving something away could be the most profitable decision ever made. They discovered that recurring revenue, thin margins, and invisible network effects could create moats so wide that competitors simply drowned trying to cross them. This is the story of those patterns. The 9 business models that quietly underpin the majority of billion-dollar companies. Not theories, not speculation, but proven architectures. The mechanical blueprints hidden beneath the brands you know. The hidden logic that turned a search engine into a verb, that turned a bookstore into a cloud superpower, that turned a simple idea about sharing rooms into a hospitality giant. And as we travel through these models together, you will feel time soften. The details will wash over you like a slow tide. The world of commerce, with all its fascinating complexity, will reveal itself not as a cold machine, but as something almost poetic. A dance of incentives. A story about human behavior. A quiet, unfolding secret about why the world works the way it does. Let us begin with the most valuable shape in modern business. The model that venture capitalists dream about late at night. The model that has produced more billion-dollar companies in the last 15 years than any other. It is called the subscription model. But do not let the familiar name fool you. The subscription model, in its purest form, is a radical reimagining of the relationship between a company and a customer. Before subscriptions, you own things. You bought a software CD in a box. You bought a DVD. You bought a newspaper at a newsstand. The transaction was a stone dropped into a pond. It rippled once, then stillness. With subscriptions, the stone never stops rippling. The subscription model transforms a single sale into a relationship. A customer pays not for a product, but for access, for ongoing service, for the quiet certainty that something will always be there when they need it. And for the company, this creates something almost magical. Predictable revenue. Revenue that arrives like clockwork. Revenue that allows long-term planning, deep investment, and the confidence to build for years rather than quarters. The roots of this model stretch deeper than most people realize. Newspapers and magazines have operated on subscription logic for centuries. In 1638, England's King Charles I offered British residents a subscription for fire insurance. But the modern explosion of subscriptions began with software. Specifically, with a company that most people outside the tech world have never heard of: Salesforce. In the late 1990s, the software industry was a world of massive upfront payments. Companies bought software licenses for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They installed the software on their own servers. They hired IT teams to maintain it. It was expensive, slow, and inflexible. Then a man named Mark Benioff had an idea. What if software lived in the cloud? What if customers paid a monthly fee instead of a massive upfront license? What if the software was always up to date, always accessible, always improving? At the time, people thought he was insane. Software as a service? No one would trust their customer data to an internet company. The idea was dismissed. But Benioff persisted. Salesforce launched in 1999. And within a decade, it had transformed the entire software industry. Today, the subscription economy is valued at nearly $500 billion globally. And it is expected to more than triple by the early 1930s. Companies like Netflix have turned the subscription model into a cultural force. Netflix began as a DVD by mail service in 1997. Then, as the internet caught up with ambition, it transformed into a streaming platform. Today, Netflix has amassed a market cap of more than $200 billion. All built on the simple idea that people would rather pay a predictable monthly fee for endless entertainment than buy movies one at a time. But subscriptions have spread far beyond entertainment and software. You can now subscribe to meal kits that arrive at your door every week. You can subscribe to razor blades, toothbrush heads, vitamins, pet food, coffee, wine, even car washes. The model has proven so effective that even industrial giants have embraced it. John Deere, the legendary manufacturer of tractors and agricultural equipment, now sells software subscriptions alongside its machines. Farmers pay not just for the tractor, but for ongoing access to the digital systems that make the tractor work. The line between ownership and access has blurred. And in that blur, billions of dollars have been made. What makes the subscription model so powerful is the mathematics of retention. Acquiring a customer is expensive. You spend money on marketing, on sales, on convincing someone to trust you. But once they are subscribed, each additional month of revenue costs almost nothing. The fixed costs are already paid. The marginal cost of serving an existing subscriber is tiny. This means that if you can keep customers for years, the lifetime value of each one becomes enormous. A customer who pays $10 a month for 5 years is worth $600. A customer who stays for a decade is worth $1,200. Multiply that by millions of customers, and you begin to understand the scale of the subscription economy. There is something deeply comforting about the subscription model from the listener's perspective. It is a model built on trust and habit. When you subscribe to something, you are making a quiet promise to yourself. This is part of my life now. The coffee will come. The music will play. The software will work. It is a small act of surrender to convenience. And in that surrender, there is a kind of peace. Now, let us turn to a different shape. A shape that created some of the largest fortunes in human history. The platform business model. If subscriptions are about relationships over time, platforms are about connections between people. A platform is a matchmaker. It brings together two or more groups that need each other, facilitates their interaction. and takes a small fee for doing so. The magic of platforms is a force called network effects. Each new user makes the platform more valuable for everyone else. And as the platform grows, it becomes harder and harder for competitors to catch up. The concept of network effects is more than a century old. It was first observed in telephone networks. When only a few people had telephones, the telephone was almost useless. But as more people joined the network, the value of having a telephone skyrocketed. Every new telephone made every existing telephone more valuable. This same logic applies to platforms. Consider Uber. Each new rider makes the platform more attractive to drivers. Each new driver makes the platform more attractive to riders. The system feeds itself, a virtuous cycle that accelerates over time. This is the flywheel. And once it starts spinning, it is almost impossible to stop. The most visible platforms in the world are the giants of the digital age. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Alibaba, Tencent, Visa, MasterCard. These companies do not produce most of the value they facilitate. Instead, they create the infrastructure for others to produce value. The App Store is a platform where developers build apps and Apple takes a commission. Google Search is a platform where advertisers bid for keywords and Google collects the payment. Facebook is a platform where billions of users share content and advertisers pay for access to their attention. The challenge of building a platform is the cold start problem. This is the chicken and egg dilemma that haunts every platform entrepreneur. You need buyers to attract sellers, but you need sellers to attract buyers. So how do you start? The answer, historically, has been to spend aggressively. To subsidize one side of the market until the other side shows up. Uber paid drivers before there were enough riders. PayPal paid users to sign up. YouTube gave away free storage and bandwidth for years before figuring out monetization. The losses were enormous. But the winners who survived the early years emerged with moats so deep that competition became almost irrelevant. Once a platform reaches critical mass, the economics become extraordinary. The marginal cost of adding another user is close to zero. A few extra lines of code, a few extra bytes of storage. Yet each new user adds value to the network. Platforms generate supernormal profitability not because they exploit anyone, but because they have solved the coordination problem of matching supply and demand at scale. They have built the marketplace, the infrastructure, the trust system. And for that, they earn a toll. A tiny percentage of every transaction. A few cents on the dollar. But when you facilitate trillions of dollars in transactions, those cents add up to empires. There is something almost philosophical about platforms. They are the closest thing the digital world has to a public square. A place where strangers meet, trade, communicate, and create value together. The platform does not command. It does not control. It simply enables. And in that enabling, it captures a small piece of the value created. It is a beautiful, elegant, and deeply powerful model. Closely related to the platform is the marketplace business model. Some analysts treat marketplaces as a subset of platforms. But marketplaces deserve their own attention because they have reshaped how goods and services are bought and sold. A marketplace is a specific kind of platform focused on transactions between buyers and sellers. eBay launched in 1995 as AuctionWeb, a site where people could sell their used items to strangers across the country. In those early days, eBay looked more like a glorified classified section than the e-commerce giant it would become. But founder Pierre Omidyar had stumbled onto something profound. People wanted to turn their clutter into cash, and other people wanted to find treasures at bargain prices. The marketplace brought them together. At the same time, on the other side of Seattle, a man named Jeff Bezos was launching a different kind of online store. Amazon began as a bookstore. Just a bookstore. But Bezos had a vision that extended far beyond books. He saw that the internet allowed a retailer to offer more selection than any physical store. So Amazon grew. It added music, then electronics, then toys, then everything. And along the way, Amazon transformed itself from a retailer into a marketplace. It opened its platform to third-party sellers. Today, more than half of the items sold on Amazon come from independent merchants who pay commissions to Bezos' company. The marketplace model allowed Amazon to offer infinite selection without holding infinite inventory. Etsy followed a similar path, focusing on handmade and vintage goods. It created a haven for crafters, artists, and collectors. Today, Etsy connects millions of buyers with millions of sellers, taking a small percentage of each sale. The magic of marketplaces is that they concentrate demand. Instead of each seller building their own website and driving their own traffic, they join an ecosystem where customers are already searching. The marketplace handles payment processing, fraud prevention, shipping integrations, customer service frameworks, and dispute resolution. The seller gains operational maturity on day one. The marketplace earns a commission on every sale. Both sides win. The marketplace model has spread into almost every industry. Airbnb created a marketplace for short-term rentals. Uber created a marketplace for rides. DoorDash created a marketplace for restaurant delivery. Fiverr and Upwork created marketplaces for freelance services. In each case, the company does not own the assets. It does not own the homes, the cars, the food, or the labor. It simply owns the connection. The algorithm that matches supply with demand. The reputation system that builds trust. The payment rails that move money safely. These intangible assets are the real moat. And they generate billions in revenue with remarkably low capital requirements. When you reflect on marketplaces, there is a gentle nostalgia to the idea. They remind us of the ancient bazaars, the trading posts, the farmers' markets where communities gathered to exchange goods and stories. The digital marketplace is just the modern version of that timeless human activity. The desire to trade, to find a bargain, to discover something unexpected. The marketplace model, at its heart, is a celebration of commerce as connection. Now we arrive at a model that seems almost too simple to work. A model so counterintuitive that it confuses economists and delights marketers. The freemium model. The word is a portmanteau of free and premium. And the idea is disarmingly straightforward. Give the basic version of your product away for free. Charge only for premium features, advanced functionality, or an ad-free experience. The logic is that free lowers the barrier to entry to zero. Anyone can try the product without risk. Once they are hooked, once the product has become part of their daily routine, some percentage will pay for more. The freemium model has produced some of the most beloved companies in the world. Spotify gives you access to millions of songs for free, supported by advertisements. But if you pay a monthly subscription, the ads disappear, and you gain additional features like offline listening and higher quality audio. Spotify runs on a dual-engine model. Free users are monetized through ads. Premium users pay directly. In early 2024, Spotify had approximately 236 million ad-supported users and 239 million premium subscribers. The company has tripled its revenue in just 5 years. Duolingo teaches languages to more than 65 million monthly users. Roughly 91% of those users are on the free tier. Only about 4.8 million pay for Duolingo Plus. Yet Duolingo is profitable. It monetizes its free users through advertising and clever in-app purchases. The company has mastered the art of converting attention into revenue without alienating the vast majority who will never pay a cent. Canva, the design platform, has over 170 million monthly active users. Less than 10% pay for a subscription. Yet Canva generates an estimated $1.7 billion in annual revenue. The free users are not a burden. They are the engine. They create content, they share designs, they bring their friends. The free tier is the ultimate marketing funnel. It builds brand awareness, drives word of mouth, and creates a massive addressable audience for premium upgrades. There is a famous quote from Brian Halligan, the co-founder of HubSpot. He said, "Freemium is a marketing strategy disguised as a business model." This is the secret that many people miss. The free tier is not charity. It is the most effective customer acquisition channel ever invented. Traditional marketing costs money. You pay for ads, for salespeople, for lead generation. With freemium, your customers become your marketing. They tell their friends. They share on social media. They build content around your product. And you pay nothing for that promotion. You simply let the product speak for itself. The mathematics of freemium are fascinating. Most free users will never convert. Less than 0.1% of free app users become paying subscribers. But that tiny conversion rate applied to a massive user base creates enormous revenue. If you have 100 million free users, and only 1% pay $10 a month, that is $10 million in monthly recurring revenue. The free users cost something. There are server costs, support costs, bandwidth costs. But these costs are often more than offset by advertising revenue. And the data generated by free users is invaluable. Every click, every search, every interaction teaches the company how to improve the product and how to target premium offers. The freemium model works best when the marginal cost of serving an additional free user is very low. Software and digital services are ideal. The cost of letting one more person use a mobile app is measured in fractions of a cent. Physical goods are much harder. You cannot give away razors indefinitely hoping someone will buy the blades. But in the digital realm, freemium has become the dominant strategy for consumer-facing software. It is the model that built Spotify, Dropbox, Evernote, Zoom, and countless others. It is the model that made free feel like abundance, and premium feel like luxury. We turn now to a model with a much older pedigree. A model that shaped the industrial age and continues to print billions today. The razor and blades model. The name comes from King Camp Gillette, the inventor of the disposable safety razor. The legend says that Gillette realized he could sell the razor handle at a low price, almost at cost, and make his fortune on the replacement blades. The story is so compelling that it has become part of business folklore. But the truth is a little different. Gillette actually sold his razors at a high price when they were first introduced. It was only after his patents expired in the 1920s that competitors discovered the power of the razor and blades model. Yet the model is still called Gillette's, and for good reason. He pioneered the mass production and sale of disposable blades, and he understood the core insight. A durable good paired with a consumable creates recurring revenue. The razor and blades model has spread far beyond shaving. Inkjet printers are sold for remarkably low prices, sometimes below manufacturing cost. But the ink cartridges are expensive. You cannot use the printer without them, and you must replace them regularly. The same pattern appears in coffee machines that use single-serve pods. The machine is the razor. The pods are the blades. Video game consoles follow the same logic. The PlayStation or Xbox is sold at a slim margin, sometimes at a loss. But every console owner buys games, controllers, and accessories. Those are the blades. Electric toothbrushes, water filtration systems, even some medical devices. The pattern is everywhere. The genius of the razor and blades model is that it aligns incentives perfectly. The customer wants a low upfront cost. The company wants a recurring revenue stream. By lowering the barrier to entry, the company captures customers who might otherwise balk at a high upfront price. Once the customer is locked in, switching costs rise. Changing from one razor system to another means buying a new handle. Changing from one printer brand to another means throwing away perfectly good ink cartridges. The customer is not trapped, but they are gently encouraged to stay. The friction of switching is just high enough to make most people stick with what they have. King Gillette did not set out to build an empire. He was a traveling salesman with an idea. He believed that the disposable blade would change shaving forever. And he was right. But what he built became something larger than he imagined. Gillette grew into a multi-billion-dollar company, a symbol of American industrial might. The razor and blades model became the template for 1,000 other businesses. And even today, in a world of digital subscriptions and cloud platforms, the old pattern endures. Because some truths about human behavior do not change. People want low upfront costs. Companies want high lifetime value. The razor and blades model delivers both. Now let us step into a model that turned the American dream into a franchise. The franchise business model. The word itself comes from the Old French, meaning freedom or privilege. And that is exactly what a franchise offers. The right to use a proven business system, a trusted brand name, and a replicable operating model. The franchisee provides the capital, the labor, and the local knowledge. The franchisor provides the system, the training, and the brand. Both share in the profits. The franchise model has produced some of the most recognizable companies in the world. McDonald's, Subway, Marriott, Hilton, 7-Eleven, and thousands more. But the model is not limited to fast food and hotels. Franchising has spread into home services, fitness centers, childcare, senior care, even medical clinics. The beauty of the model is that it scales without requiring massive capital investment from the parent company. Each new location is funded by a franchisee. The parent company collects royalties, typically a percentage of sales. It also collects initial franchise fees. The cost of expansion is borne by the entrepreneurs who join the system. Consider the story of Scooter's Coffee. Don and Linda Eccles could not get a bank loan, so they borrowed $40,000 from friends and family. They opened a tiny coffee kiosk in Omaha, Nebraska, in a remodeled Chinese restaurant. The space was just 650 square feet. They worked every shift for the first 4 months. Linda stamped a smiley face sticker on every coffee lid. After breaking even, they opened a second location, then a third. By the time they reached 5 locations, they had borrowed another $150,000 to build 2 kiosks at a nearby mall. Construction costs nearly bankrupted them, but they survived. In 2001, they began franchising at the request of friends and customers who wanted to open their own locations. Fast forward 25 years. Scooter's Coffee now has more than 900 locations across 32 states. Those franchises generated nearly $900 million in sales in a single year. Someone recently offered to buy the entire company for $1 billion. The Eccles turned it down. Their holding company operates with an estimated 62.5% net margin. Nearly all costs are handled by franchisees. The parent company simply collects the royalties. This is the magic of the franchise model. The franchisor builds the system once, then licenses it 1,000 times. The upfront work is enormous. Developing the operations manual, the training programs, the supply chain, the brand identity. But once that work is done, the incremental cost of adding a new franchisee is low. The risk is transferred to the franchisee. The capital is provided by the franchisee. The parent company focuses on quality control, marketing, and system improvement. It is a beautiful division of labor. The dreamer with the idea partners with the dreamer with the savings. And together, they build something neither could build alone. The franchise model also creates powerful incentives for quality. Franchisees are owners. They have skin in the game. They care about cleanliness, customer service, and local reputation in a way that an hourly employee never could. This is why franchise systems often outperform corporate-owned chains. The franchisee's profit is directly tied to the success of the location. They wake up every morning thinking about how to serve customers better. That alignment of incentives is the hidden engine of franchise success. We now arrive at a model that feels distinctly modern, yet draws on ancient patterns of direct trade. The direct-to-consumer model, often abbreviated as DTC. In its purest form, DTC means selling directly to customers without intermediaries. No wholesalers, no retailers, no distributors. The brand owns the entire customer relationship, from the first click to the final delivery. The modern DTC movement began around 2010 with a company called Warby Parker. Warby Parker sold eyeglasses online, directly to consumers, at a fraction of the price of traditional optical shops. The founders realized that the eyewear industry was dominated by a single company, Luxottica, which controlled manufacturing, distribution, and retail. By bypassing the traditional channels, Warby Parker could offer high-quality glasses for $95, including prescription lenses. The company grew rapidly. It opened physical showrooms. It expanded into sunglasses and contact lenses. And it proved that a digital native brand could compete with century-old incumbents. The DTC model exploded in the 19-teens. Brands like Dollar Shave Club, Glossier, Allbirds, and Away attracted massive venture capital investment and achieved billion-dollar valuations at remarkable speed. The formula seemed simple. Build a beautiful website. Create a distinctive brand voice. Invest heavily in Facebook and Instagram advertising. Ship products directly from a warehouse. The economics looked attractive. Without paying wholesale discounts or retail markups, the DTC brand could capture the full margin. Without sharing customer data with retailers, the DTC brand could build a rich understanding of its audience. Dollar Shave Club became the poster child for DTC success. Founded in 2011 by Michael Dubin and Mark Levine, the company sold razor blades by subscription. A simple proposition. High-quality razors delivered to your door for a few dollars a month. No need to remember to buy blades at the pharmacy. No need to pay inflated prices. The company produced a now legendary launch video featuring Michael Dubin delivering a deadpan monologue about the absurdity of expensive razors. The video went viral. Within a few years, Dollar Shave Club had captured a significant share of the razor market, eating into Gillette's long-standing dominance. In 2016, Unilever acquired Dollar Shave Club for $1 billion. It was the largest acquisition of a DTC brand at the time, and it signaled that the model had arrived. But the DTC wave did not last forever. As more brands entered the space, advertising costs rose. The platforms that had fueled DTC growth, Facebook and Instagram, became more expensive. Apple's privacy changes made targeted advertising less effective. Customer acquisition costs skyrocketed. Many DTC brands discovered that while they had bypassed traditional retailers, they had become dependent on a different set of intermediaries. The social media platforms became the new landlords, and the rent kept going up. Brands like Allbirds and Glossier began opening physical stores. They started selling through wholesale partners like Nordstrom and Sephora. The pure DTC model gave way to a hybrid approach. Yet the legacy of DTC remains. The model forced established companies to rethink their relationships with customers. It proved that brands could build direct connections without retail partners. And it democratized entrepreneurship. A small team with a good product and a clever social media strategy could reach millions of customers without ever setting foot in a store. The DTC revolution did not end. It simply matured. Now we enter a model that is invisible to most consumers, yet generates hundreds of billions of dollars annually. The licensing business model. Licensing is the act of granting permission to use intellectual property in exchange for a fee. The intellectual property could be a patent, a trademark, a copyright, or a trade secret. The licensee gets the right to use the property. The licensor gets a stream of royalties. Both sides win. The licensing industry is massive. The global intellectual property licensing market was valued at approximately $340 billion in 2024. It is expected to reach $580 billion by 2033. Licensing touches almost every aspect of modern life. The characters on your child's lunchbox are licensed. The logo on your t-shirt is licensed. The technology in your smartphone is licensed. The music streaming on your headphones is licensed. Licensing is the quiet infrastructure that allows ideas to be shared without being stolen. The most famous licensing company in the world is Disney. Disney does not just make movies. It licenses its characters to manufacturers who produce toys, clothing, home goods, and theme park merchandise. In 2024, Disney generated an estimated $28 billion in retail sales from licensed merchandise alone. The characters are the product. The movies are the marketing. The licensing deals are the profit center. But licensing extends far beyond entertainment. Technology companies like InterDigital license their patents to smartphone manufacturers. Every time Apple or Samsung sells a phone, a portion of the price goes to patent holders who invented the wireless technologies inside. The patent holder does not manufacture anything. They simply own the idea. And they license it to those who build the physical products. This is the purest form of the intellectual property business model. Creating once, licensing forever. The licensing model is also reshaping the media industry. In the age of artificial intelligence, companies are licensing their data to train large language models. Reddit disclosed $203 million in data licensing contracts in its IPO prospectus. News organizations are signing multi-million-dollar agreements with AI companies. The content that was once freely available on the web is now being recognized as valuable intellectual property. The licensing model is creating new revenue streams for publishers who have struggled to adapt to the digital age. The beauty of licensing is its scalability. Once you have created the intellectual property, the marginal cost of licensing it to another customer is negligible. No factories, no inventory, no shipping. Just a contract and a royalty check. This is why licensing is so attractive to creators and inventors. It allows them to focus on what they do best, creating. And it allows others to focus on manufacturing, distribution, and marketing. The division of labor is clean. The incentives are aligned. Let us explore a model that answers one of the oldest questions in commerce. How do you attract customers to a new product when nobody knows it exists? The answer, for many successful companies, has been the loss leader and bait and hook model. This is the broader category that includes the razor and blades approach. But it extends to many other contexts. The logic is simple. Sell one product at a loss, or at a very low margin, to attract customers who will then buy other profitable products. Supermarkets have used loss leaders for decades. A grocery store might sell milk or eggs below cost. They lose money on every carton. But they know that customers who come for the cheap milk will also buy bread, cereal, and produce. The loss on the milk is more than offset by the profit on the rest of the shopping cart. This is the bait. The hook is the rest of the store. In the digital world, loss leaders take different forms. Amazon sells its Kindle e-readers at or near cost. The device itself generates little profit. But Kindle owners buy ebooks. And ebooks have high margins. Amazon makes its money on the content, not the container. The same logic applies to video game consoles. Sony and Microsoft sell the hardware at a slim margin, sometimes at a loss. They make their profit on game sales, online subscriptions, and accessories. The console is the razor. The games are the blades. The loss leader model requires careful financial planning. You must be confident that the customers attracted by the low price will actually purchase the profitable items. You must have a clear understanding of customer lifetime value. And you must be able to sustain the losses during the early years. But when it works, it creates a powerful competitive advantage. Rivals cannot match your low price on the bait product without also having the profitable hooks to sustain them. Now we turn to the enterprise business model. This is the world of selling to other businesses, often at very high prices, with very long sales cycles, and very few customers. The enterprise model is the opposite of the mass market model. Instead of selling to millions of consumers for a few dollars each, enterprise companies sell to a handful of large organizations for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars each. The enterprise model is particularly common in software. Companies like Oracle, SAP, and IBM have built multi-billion-dollar businesses selling complex software systems to Fortune 500 companies. The sales process can take months or years. Deals require approval from multiple gatekeepers. Legal teams review contracts. Procurement departments negotiate terms. But when a deal closes, the revenue is substantial. And because switching costs are high, enterprise customers tend to stay for years. The metrics for enterprise businesses are different from consumer businesses. Instead of monthly active users, enterprise companies track annual contract value and net revenue retention. Instead of viral coefficient, they track sales pipeline and win rates. The growth is lumpy. One quarter might bring a $100 million deal. The next quarter might bring nothing. This lumpiness requires patience and careful financial management. But the enterprise model has produced some of the most durable companies in history. Microsoft built its early fortune selling software licenses to businesses. Salesforce built its empire on enterprise subscriptions. Workday, ServiceNow, and countless others have followed the same path. The enterprise model is not glamorous. It does not produce viral marketing campaigns or consumer buzz. But it produces steady, predictable, and highly profitable revenue. And it builds relationships that can last for decades. We now consider a model that has become essential to the modern internet economy: the advertising business model. In this model, the product is free to the user. The customer is not the user. The customer is the advertiser. The user's attention is the product being sold. Google perfected the advertising model. When Google launched in the late 1990s, it was a simple search engine with no obvious way to make money. The founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, were famously ambivalent about advertising. They worried that ads would compromise the integrity of search results. But they eventually embraced advertising in a brilliant way. Google AdWords allowed advertisers to bid on keywords. When a user searched for a term, the ads that appeared were directly relevant to the query. This was not intrusive advertising. It was useful advertising. Users clicked because the ads helped them find what they were looking for. Google made money every time someone clicked. The system scaled effortlessly. Facebook followed a similar path. The social network grew to billions of users without charging them a cent. Instead, Facebook sold targeted advertising based on the rich data users voluntarily shared: their interests, their relationships, their locations, their life events. Advertisers could reach exactly the audience they wanted. Facebook collected the toll. By 2016, mobile advertising accounted for more than 80% of Facebook's ad revenue. The company was printing money. The advertising model has produced some of the largest fortunes in history. Google and Facebook, now Meta, generate hundreds of billions in annual revenue. Most of that revenue comes from advertising. The users pay nothing. The product is free. The price is attention. And attention, it turns out, is enormously valuable when aggregated at scale. But the advertising model has its critics. It creates incentives for engagement at any cost. It rewards content that provokes emotion, whether positive or negative. It captures user attention not because it serves the user, but because it serves the advertiser. Despite these criticisms, the advertising model remains dominant across much of the internet. Search engines, social networks, news sites, and countless mobile apps rely on advertising to survive. For the user, the value proposition is simple: free access in exchange for seeing ads. For many, that is a fair trade. We now arrive at a model that has quietly reshaped the cloud computing industry. The usage-based pricing model, also known as pay-as-you-go. Unlike traditional subscriptions, which charge a flat monthly or annual fee, usage-based pricing charges customers based on exactly what they consume. The more you use, the more you pay. The less you use, the less you pay. Amazon Web Services, or AWS, pioneered usage-based pricing for cloud infrastructure. Before AWS, companies had to buy their own servers, often paying for capacity they did not yet need. AWS changed the game. You could rent computing power by the hour, storage by the gigabyte, bandwidth by the gigabit. You paid only for what you used. This lowered the barrier to entry for startups. It also aligned incentives perfectly. AWS made more money when its customers grew, and customers loved that their costs scaled with their revenue. AWS has grown into a massive business, generating $90 billion in revenue in 2023, largely driven by usage-based pricing. Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud have followed the same model. Today, usage-based pricing is spreading beyond cloud infrastructure. Software companies are adopting usage-based models for APIs, for AI services, for data processing. The model provides a low initial hurdle for customers. They can start small and scale up as their needs grow. This makes adoption easier and reduces the friction of signing a large upfront contract. The usage-based model is particularly well suited to developer tools and platforms. Stripe charges a percentage of each transaction processed. Twilio charges for each message sent or phone call made. Snowflake charges for the data stored and the queries executed. In each case, the customer pays in proportion to the value received. This is the fairest possible pricing model, and it is increasingly becoming the standard for modern software businesses. We turn finally to a model that has created entirely new forms of work. The gig economy and on-demand labor model. This model connects workers with tasks through a digital platform. The worker is not an employee. They are an independent contractor, a freelancer, a gig worker. The platform does not pay a salary. It facilitates transactions. The worker earns for each task completed. The platform takes a commission. Uber is the most famous example. Uber does not own cars. It does not employ drivers. It connects riders with drivers. Each ride is a transaction. Uber takes a percentage. The driver keeps the rest. This model scales effortlessly because the platform does not bear the fixed costs of vehicles or drivers. When demand rises, more drivers log on. When demand falls, drivers go home. The system adjusts automatically. The gig economy has expanded far beyond transportation. TaskRabbit connects people with helpers for household chores. Upwork connects businesses with freelancers for digital work. DoorDash connects restaurants with delivery drivers. In each case, the platform provides the matching, the payment processing, and the reputation system. The workers provide the labor. The customers provide the demand. And the platform collects its toll. The gig economy model has been enormously successful. Uber has grown into a $50 billion business. The global gig economy is projected to reach trillions of dollars in transaction volume. But the model also raises profound questions about the nature of work. Gig workers lack the protections of traditional employees. No health insurance, no paid time off, no retirement benefits. They bear the risks of the platform. Yet millions of workers have embraced gig work for its flexibility. The ability to set your own hours, to work when you want, to be your own boss. The gig economy is not going away. It is evolving. And the platform model will continue to shape how millions of people earn a living. As you drift now, let these business models settle in your mind like quiet mechanisms in a great clock. The subscription model with its predictable rhythm. The platform model with its network effects. The freemium model with its generosity. The razor and blades model with its elegant lock-in. The franchise model with its scalable entrepreneurship. the direct-to-consumer model with its radical independence, the licensing model with its intellectual alchemy, the lost leader with its strategic sacrifice, the enterprise model with its deep relationships, the advertising model with its attention economy, the usage-based model with its perfect fairness, and the gig economy model with its fluid labor. Each model is a solution to a problem. Each model reflects a deep understanding of human behavior. Each model has built empires and made fortunes. And each model, in its own way, has shaped the world you wake up to every morning. The products you use, the services you trust, the experiences you love, all of them rest on these hidden architectures. These invisible engines. These beautiful, logical, human design patterns of value creation. The world of billion-dollar businesses is not a mystery. It is a set of puzzles that have been solved again, and solved better. The solutions are out there for anyone who cares to look. And as you rest now, as the story fades into the soft darkness behind your eyelids, remember that every great enterprise began with a question. How do I create value? How do I capture it? How do I build something that lasts? The answers are found in these models. They are the grammar of commerce, the alphabet of ambition, the quiet poetry of how the world works. Sleep well, and let the gentle machinery of business models carry you into dreams.